What if you had instant analytics on your PDP images and a faster way to create content that performs better? That's what we're diving into in today's episode, how top brands and retailers are using analytics and automation to stay ahead across retail media and the digital shelf. It's Rapid helps teams scale smarter. They analyze image performance, they help you create optimized assets for retail media networks and the digital shelf, and they integrate directly with PIM and DAM systems for seamless execution. Brands like Pepsi, Mondelez, and Instacart use its Rapid to go beyond basic tools to uncover gaps in PDP and retail media performance by analyzing the images themselves, not just the count. Streamline banner creation across hundreds of formats for Amazon Ads, Walmart Connect, and other retail and social platforms, and launch high-performing content more than 80% faster across e-commerce and marketing channels. If you're buried in manual work or struggling to keep up, this episode and It's Rapid will show you a better way. Visit itsrapid.ai to learn more.
Welcome to Beyond the Shelf with Dave Feinlieb. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. We publish new episodes every Tuesday morning, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Dave Feinlieb.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Shelf. Today we're joined by Joanna, Crishock, an insights-driven leader who serves as VP of Digital Merchandising and Operations at Ahold Delhaize, USA, providing support for the digital merchandising strategies of its brands, which include Food Lion, Giant Food, The Giant Company, and Stop and Shop. Joanna has held leadership roles throughout Ahold Delhaize USA companies with a background in consumer insights, marketing, e-commerce, and strategy. From her early days in shopper insights to her time leading center store omnichannel merchandising for the Giant Company, she's helped connect data, digital, and operations to create seamless, high-performing experiences. With an MBA and a reputation for insights-led innovation, Joanna is known for simplifying complexity and empowering teams to move faster. On today's episode, we'll explore how Joanna is supporting Ahold Delhaize USA brands in building digital agility and impact at scale. Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
What first inspired you to work in marketing? Take us back. How'd you get started?
Well, I would say that it really started back in my days when I was in college. But I've always tried to approach everything with more of a creative, future-focused mindset. So, when you're a kid and you always ask why, and your parents might get annoyed at that, I was probably one of those kids. But whether it's trying to solve a problem or chasing a personal goal, I always like to try to experiment with new and different solutions. And so when I really, really look back at like what first got me started in marketing, and it wasn't even just so much marketing, it was more consumer insights and consumer behavior. There was a professor that I worked with at Penn State who was a great mentor. And she had, in one of the classes that I was in, a book that we were reading. And we had to do a whole project around this book in terms of how would we bring this to life in a real world example. But the book was Why We Buy by Paco Underhill. And it's really stuck with me for ages. And it's funny, the other day I was looking up like how long ago was that book published? And I hate to say how long ago it was, because then that also dates me in terms of when I first read it, but it still is applicable today. And so it really broke down the science behind shopping behaviors in a way that was really practical, but also fascinating. And I think people would be surprised at just how many subtle cues can drive real results. And at the end of the day, like, I don't think that after reading that book, after being in the career that I've had, you can never shop like a normal consumer again.
You're always seeing everything.
You're always seeing everything. You're always thinking, well, why did they do this? Or they could have done this better.
Yeah.
You become like hypercritical. But that led me into consumer insights. And I had a career before I got to Ahold Delhaize in consumer insights in quantitative and qualitative customer research.
Mm.
And that's really where I started when I came to Ahold Delhaize. And so I've been with them for about 15 years. I started, like I said, in consumer and insights as an analyst. That was formerly called Ahold USA. So it was before
Uh-huh.
the merger. When I was there, I became a senior manager. I then moved on to retail business services, which was a former support brand. And then I led consumer insights and analytics there. And really, at that time, I kind of saw my future in consumer insights and analytics. But I had a great opportunity in 2019 to move back to the giant company in a position leading strategy and innovation. And what I learned in that, in time, kind of breaking from the traditional background of consumer insights and analytics, is that everybody's kind of a marketer. Everybody needs like this data led
Yeah.
background, and it really served me well. Not long after I came back to the giant company, I moved into a chief of staff position for the president of the company at the time. And it was really one of those eye-opening moments for me where I got to see a full like 360 view of the business, all of the decisions that needed to happen, whether it was within supply chain or operations or merchandising and how they connect. And really, chief of staff, the role was about getting things done. It was about aligning people and bringing them together, and moving through challenges and providing solutions and helping people more than providing the solution yourself. It's helping people get to a solution. And I found that the ability to dig into the why and the ability to have a fact-based, insights-driven approach really helped kind of connect the dots. So,
So many points in there. And we were lucky to have Paco Underhill on the
yeah.
Beyond the Shelf podcast, which was extremely fortuitous that I had spoken with you. I got on literally the next day with Paco, and I went, "Oh man, Joanna told me all about this book." And I, of course, had the privilege of sounding like an expert when I was talking to him.
That's
So
awesome.
that was so great, and such an inspiring author. So I understand why that help get things started. And
Yeah.
then incredible roles that you've had. Tell us about this chief of staff. First off, what does it entail and what are some of your learnings there?
Yeah, well, I had the role of leading strategy and chief of staff at the same time, which was really a great combination
Mm.
because part of my responsibilities were helping facilitate the planning cycle for us, the strategic planning cycle for us as a brand, as part of the Ahold Delhaize U.S. companies. Each brand goes through that planning cycle in a 3 to 5 year view, and really the chief of staff role was about bringing people together to drive solutions and to have a vision and to have a plan in order to get there. So, having that role and then having the responsibility of strategy, it was about where do we need to invest? What are our objectives? What are our strategic priorities? How do we align those and align one another? And it really came down to balance and prioritization. There's a lot that any organization can do. It's about what should you do
Mm.
and what should you do now, and how does that set the foundation for reaching the bigger objectives of the company. But it was insightful because everything is interlinked. Like nothing happens in a silo. And so, from my perspective, it was just great exposure to other parts of the business and the ability to continually learn and really collaborate with a diverse set of individuals. So.
Amazing. You've found a niche bringing people together. Tell us more about that.
I guess I would say that bringing people together is, for me, it's about getting everybody kind of in the same room. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the physical room. I think we've all known since COVID, we all had to vastly change our ways of working when it came to working hybrid or virtual. But it's about making sure that you're creating a space and an environment where people feel like they can contribute, that their opinion is and wants to be heard. Bringing in cross-functional teams across different companies. I think I've built a reputation for the fact that I can get work done, and I am a very collaborative person, mainly because I want to make sure that people see that their voice really matters. So to me, it comes down to being intentional about those connections. Sometimes you need to bring in different departments, different people. You really need to set the stage for what is the goal that you're trying to achieve. Because the one thing that you'll find, and I still discover this today, even after 15 years of being with the company, but everybody sometimes speaks different languages. And I'd say we might talk a little bit about my current role today. But that's even more, I've noticed that in coming into my new role where I'm working with retail media as well as merchandising. And the translation of different languages is really the part that I think I enjoy the most. It's how do you unlock better ideas and outcomes by helping people see like where do they fit into that bigger picture and making sure that everybody has kind of like the right seat on the bus, if that makes sense. And a lot of it comes down to setting clear expectations, making sure that communication is top of mind. I'd say that change management is hugely important. It's probably one of the things that's most underrated or even kind of underskilled as organizations grow. The importance of change management is pretty big. But I found that where I think I have the most impact personally is when it comes to bringing diverse groups of people and teams together. So,
Love it. So bringing people together, really thinking about these different languages that people are speaking. I think that's a great insight. You're saying the same words sometimes, but they
yeah.
got to make sure everyone's means the same thing and understands and really has an opportunity to contribute. Now, you've been on a great growth curve. How do you keep the team on that growth curve and stay as a leader in the market?
Yeah. I think it's surrounding yourself with innately curious individuals, and making sure that you're always trying to stay on top of everything that's always changing. I mean, we live in a rapidly changing world. And again, since COVID, I think everything's changed so much. And it's about not thinking that you've ever learned enough. It's always asking, like, why more, digging in deeper. And I think if you hit that point where you think that you know it, you've got it, like you're either leading your team, you're leading the market, you're leading it, whatever you might be doing, you reach a point where you stop that
Mm.
growth. And so um, sometimes you need to, and I try to encourage my team to be innately curious and to always ask questions and to dig. Sometimes it's really important to frame how to ask questions, and it's out of curiosity, not out of you're trying to poke holes in what another team is doing or what the business is doing. So I would say leading with curiosity is important, and one of the things that I've been blessed with I would say, is one, the different seats that I've sat in over the years. Because when you're moving into a new role, if I would have stayed in consumer insights for my entire career, I
Right.
wouldn't have had the exposure to all of the different parts of the business that I have. I have led a variety of functions, and that willingness to sit in different seats is really beneficial. It does mean, though, that you might not be like the functional expert in something, but it gives you the ability to connect the dots. And I think that that's more valuable than anything else. And so that just fosters having to be innately curious, because you're always trying to figure out, how do I connect these dots? How do I drive simplicity and connection and collaboration? So
I think it's a great insight, and people can really tell when you're coming from that place of innate
yeah,
curiosity, and they want to learn with you. And so
yeah.
that's a great way to go about it. Now you're continually thinking about why is this best for the customer? You're talking about asking why, and tell us about the customer. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think that to the point about being innately curious, when you form your questions or your point of view or where you're trying to come from the place of the customer, you're asking those questions, you're running all the decisions that you're making through that filter of the customer, and at the end of the day, that's who we're all here to serve. So even if you're taking a step that you believe improves the business, you still need to have an understanding of how does that impact the customer and be able to push on those things. So it's really easy to just get caught up on internal priorities, what's convenient for the business, what's best for the bottom line. But if that doesn't lead to better outcomes for the customer in the long run, it's going to put you at risk, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. And so it's a balance. The customer can't always be the most important thing in the equation, or so to speak. But if we make sure that we're bringing the customer voice to the forefront, and we know that we're living in an increasingly changing and more digital world, where customers are being stimulated across the board all the time. They've got more choice now than ever before. I mean, there's something called like the paradox of choice, where people are just overwhelmed with the number of choices that they can make today. It really helps you to think about that in terms of what are the things that we can invest in that are going to make the most impact for our customer? What's going to make them be most helpful to them? What is going to create the least friction in their experience? So if you start there and you work back to like how does this come to life, whether it's a something that you're implementing from a technical point of view or from a digital point of view, if you see how that comes to life from a customer journey perspective and it meets the customer needs, that's a great way to start. So that you're just not checking another box of, okay, well, we've got this done. We'll clean it up later, or something like that.
So, if in doubt, start with the customer.
Yep.
Easy to forget, but a great way to go about it. And so important. What are some examples that come to mind bringing this to the customer?
Well, right now, I know that customers are very stressed when it comes to their wallets. And so the Ahold Delhaize USA brands, in a variety of different ways, have been those brands that customers go to in order to save. And whether it's saving with the great private brands that the brands have, or it is the ability to load coupons. And so I'd say like loading coupons is a good example of how customers are seeking out value today. And if you think about years ago, you used to get like your Sunday newspaper and you got your circular and you got the coupons and you'd clip your coupons and you check the circular and you'd see, what's on sale, how can I save even more? Can I double these? Can I bring in multiple of them? We've really invested a lot over the years to make it easier for people to load them and load coupons in their app to see like what are some of the purchases that are most important to them based off of their shopping behaviors. And it's just one simple way, though, but it helps speak to that we're always focused on how do we help people save money during really uncertain times, and how do we stretch their dollars? How do we give them more of what matters? And so that's one way I would say that we focus. It's not just on coupons; it's on value, it's on savings. And it's so much deeper at the end of the day than just coupons. But it's about making sure that we're delivering what's most relevant to the customer.
Makes total sense. And especially right now where there is a lot of uncertainty,
There is.
it's a great time to be doing that. Now, you talked about coupons. Tell us also about online and things like paid search.
Yeah. So the AD or All Delays Retail Media is something that I'm part of that broader team. And part of my team, what is top of mind, and this wouldn't be surprising based off of what we've already talked about, but customer relevancy is top of mind. And so to me, the best paid search strategy is one that serves personalized, relevant ads that are in line with a experience that's built to convert. Like you're not just engaging in sponsored ads or sponsored or paid search to just get the dollars. It has to be about converting customers. And so um, if it's not good for the customer, then it's really not good for us. So that focus on relevancy means that we are continually looking at, and my team having the digital merchandising team, it's really closely aligned with retail media team. That's a huge unlock because we're able to look at and see what are people organically searching for, what's coming up with category pages, the taxonomy, the product content, and we optimize that with the paid search to make sure that we're really amplifying the category strategy, but for the customer lens and what's relevant to them. And so, at the end of the day, if customers can find what they're looking for faster and have a better experience from start to finish, some of that includes, you think about like new items, and that's something that might be harder for them to search for when it comes to their online experience. But our ability and us being so closely aligned with ADRM, with retail media, it really makes sure that that doesn't happen. So we have substantial algorithms and a way to know and personalize the content that we're serving up for customers, in a way that it balances that organic and paid, and so that the experience the customer is getting is the most relevant.
You touched on it a little bit. We talked about coupons. We talked about search,
Yeah.
new items as an example. Tell us about solutions more broadly. How do you think about that?
Well, I've always liked to think about that if we as retailers, whether it is, if you think about a retailer being in store or online or the combination of both from an omnichannel point of view, if we're just trying to sell products, then we're replaceable. We really need to be focused on selling solutions. And so if you think about being a busy family in a time of, when your wallet needs to be stretched, when customers are looking, what are they looking to achieve? What are they looking to solve?
Mm,
And so it might be that they're trying to solve, what's for dinner tonight? What's for dinner actually all week long?
right.
And how do I stretch my dollars? That's if we're serving up solutions, and that those solutions are sometimes easier to serve up or have been easier to serve up in store. When you think about like cross merchandising starts because we want to serve up solutions to customers, not just sell them products. But it's a way that my team is focused on how do we translate what customers are trying to achieve, whether it is in store, online, or researching online for not necessarily even a transaction. But we're trying to serve up, here's everything that you need to do like X, Y, or Z. Give them the idea, make it shoppable, easy to load to their cart, easy to see that there's coupons or discounts or points that they're going to earn, so that it's straightforward, it's easy, it's simplistic. Again, we going back to like that paradox of choice. Customers are bombarded with a number of choices that they need to make in a given day, in a given week. And so for us, if our brands can deliver solutions that are not just items, not just products, it really enables us to be a better partner for them in living life. That might be a stretch, but at the end of the day, we just want to make things easier for customers. Whether it's like right now, I know everybody's kind of in the back to school season, and that personally, my kids started school last week, and it's now new schedule, new things are
Everything.
happening. In 2 weeks, they start dance classes, which then changes the whole scenario again. But when a brand that you can connect with and a retailer you can connect with helps you when it comes to back to school, to quick, healthy weeknight dinners, or whatever I might be trying to accomplish. Maybe it is Halloween and I need treats for school and I need treats for the neighborhood. Really, we're trying to focus on what does the customer need? What are they trying to accomplish? A real deep understanding of that. And at the end of the day, serving up solutions, not just items and products.
This episode of Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Mondelez, Instacart, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai.
This theme of connecting with the customer, connecting the teams, it really does come through when you speak. So kudos to you on having that throughout your career, but also it just so naturally shines through when you talk about how you are a customer yourself and then how you serve the customers. So great to hear about that. Tell us about your day-to-day role, VP, digital merchandising and operations.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit about so from a paid search perspective and serving up solutions, not just items, but it's really more about leading a team for thinking about the customer in a new and different way and drawing those connections, like I talked about before, that collaboration. So, um, another thing is like, how do we merge the physical and digital store experiences to drive an omni-channel one? And so the last role that I had within Ahold Delhaize was in merchandising. And so it was a great transition into digital merchandising for how do we amplify what we're doing in store with 90% of our business to the 10% of our business online, because that's where a lot of the growth is coming from. And so when we think about it from a customer point of view, um, more and more customers are engaging with us on an app or visiting a website. And they're doing that not just from a pure e-com perspective, but they're doing that while they're shopping in store. And the younger generations are doing that even more so. And so I like to think about my role today as that blend of the physical and digital experiences. And how do we do the right thing for those customers to support the experience that they're either telling us that they want to have or that we need to infer that they want to have. It isn't easy as just bringing like the two together, because there's always a little bit of a difference between um, you want same where same matters, or different or enhanced where it's needed. And so certain things like pricing, availability, messaging, elements like that should be the same whether someone is starting browsing on their phone, or they're browsing on the web, or they're coming in store for the purchase. So you want to have that brand consistency. But you can't really force it all to be the same. So digital also offers a lot of personalization in a way that physical can't. And so I talked a little bit before about something like the algorithms and customer relevancy. Um, you're really able to do a lot more from a personalization point of view when it comes to the digital world. And so I would say, as part of my role, it's engaging with others across the organization, whether it is merchants, if it's marketers within the brands, or it might be our product team and our IT teams, where we're looking at what does our roadmap look like for development? How do we keep offering the new, the best experience to our customer? So whether it's working with those folks or it's working with retail media in terms of how do we make sure that we're growing our retail media product as well as revenue, and doing that in a really intentional and customer relevant way.
Love it. Now you've got a great team. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about, I would say, the merchandising kind of end of things,
Right.
but I also have on my team media ops, and so it's retail media ops, and they're responsible for the execution of retail media, and so making sure that they're driving efficiency, that they're delivering from a service perspective, but it's also about analyzing data and making sure that we're enhancing the strategies the media plans that we're producing, the inventory, the forecasting, you name it. But it's basically making sure that we're putting us in the best possible position to serve customers from a retail media perspective as well. I also have on my team campaign ops, which is if you think about the commercial plans that brands develop, it's the
Right.
digitalization of that. I like to think of my team overall as think about the physical store, and then think about my team as the owners of the digital store and the digital experience. So how does that all come together in a seamless way for customers?
What was the biggest learning, something new and interesting when you first joined this new team?
I always start with the why, and I know we've kind of talked about that, but it was why, what do shoppers do when they come to the site?
Mm.
What you think that but they're really not just coming to shop to complete a transaction. They're doing research. They're trying to get inspiration. They're trying to connect the dots in terms of where can they find the best deal, what is new, what is different. And so for me, again, it was just that I really need to understand all of those different journeys that a customer may be going through in order to understand, well, what, again, going back to if you think about from a planning perspective and setting a roadmap, a strategic roadmap, where are we going to have the most impact? And once you get underneath that, it's really a good perspective to have to make sure that the decisions that you're making every day will matter the most to customers in terms of where you're asking for investment, whether it's investment from a product or tech point of view, or if it's investment of your team's time for how they're serving the brands that we serve. So
So don't assume on the why, if I
yeah,
read you right.
don't assume on the why.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But still it's okay to ask why,
yeah.
because that's part of this innate curiosity that you talked about earlier. So tell us about Ahold Delhaize USA. What makes the offering unique in the space when it comes to retail media?
I would say we're positioned really well to be a valuable partner to our CPGs. And one is that we're probably one of the first retailers to combine our digital merchandising and campaign operations teams that are crucial to the merchandising decisions and strategy and how it's brought to life from a digital perspective with and position them alongside our retail media partners. And by kind of reimagining that and aligning those teams, we've just deepened the partnership and collaboration between category management and the retail media teams. We like to also think that, is a commercial plan really complete unless it has retail media as a component of the activation? And it's not retail media isn't just like sponsored search or display ads. We're optimizing the digital shelf. We're enhancing the experience. We're looking at in-store media and connecting to customers in new and different ways from an in-store perspective as well as off-site. And so it's really having that kind of holistic 360 approach and getting stakeholder alignment. And we have that when it comes to our merchandising teams within the brands, our digital merchandising and campaigns team, and now our ADRM team.
Now, will you give us retail media 101, campaign ops, and digital merchandising? Just kind
Yeah.
of define those for us.
Sure. So, digital merchandising is my team that they really take the category plans from the brands and they bring those to life from a digital perspective. They dig in deep when it comes to ensuring that they've got the right taxonomy, that they've got the right setup, that they're optimizing search continuously. And really, we measure that by are we improving conversion at the end of the day? When it comes to campaign ops, it's more about impressions, it's more about engagement with content. And those two offer a lot of insights into and really are the foundation of having that like data-led strategy, which is extremely helpful for our CPG partners to unlock that value. We can connect the dots from data insights to where are they going to have the most incremental, business impact. I think everybody's focused on incremental. And so how do you drive incremental lift? How do you drive incremental return on your ad spend? And so we're developing solutions that enable our partners to connect with customers kind of along that entire path to purchase.
Tell us about analytics. You mentioned a little bit about data. You mentioned execution. How does analytics play into this?
I'd say it's really the foundation of almost every decision that we make.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone can really do whatever role they have within an organization, whether it's HR or if it's supply chain or if it's digital merchandising. You cannot do your job and do your job well unless you have a strong foundation from an analytics perspective. And it's not just about having data. It's what does that data tell you? How do you interpret it? And then how do you turn it into action? At the end of the analytics for us, it helps to tell the story. It helps us to get to what's most important, whether you're talking about like a media strategy or optimizing on-site performance. It's really thinking about, from a retail media perspective, it's, well, where are there the best, most relevant monetization opportunities? It's not just monetizing for the sake of it, it's doing it in a relevant way for customers, to create a better experience. And so I don't think that you can do that well unless you've got a strong foundation from an analytics perspective. So every day, I think we wake up and we're trying to ask the right questions in that why, the why behind the numbers. Why does this happen? Why is that an improvement? What can we do about it? Why are we not seeing the performance here when we would have expected it? It's monitoring to see if you've seen a change in when you implement a new solution or a new product enhancement. What's the impact that you're having on the customer? And so that continual look back and helps you with a better, I would say, look forward to, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. We're going to talk a little about local. I grew up in the Boston area and have
Oh, nice.
many fond memories. You were mentioning Halloween, and I remember going to Stop and Shop as a kid and doing all the shopping that we needed for Halloween. And
Yeah.
like you said, whether it's in the classroom or it's for the neighborhood or families, things like that. So many great memories of the brand, one of the brands. Tell us a little about local and how that plays into the Ahold Delhaize USA strategy.
Yeah. I mean, local is extremely important. And
Yeah,
so, um, part of my team is set up when it comes to when we were talking about like the commercial plans and how those come to life from a digital perspective. My team's set up to be embedded in helping and supporting each of the local brands, whether it's Giant Food, if it's Hannaford Stop and Shop, the Giant Company, or Food Lion. While the brands might carry a lot of the same items when it
mhm,
comes to us thinking about items again, they
right.
don't necessarily all offer the same experience and solutions to customers. And those solutions and experience are really tailored to what do the customers in that market need. And so my team, like I said, is very embedded in making sure that we really understand their brand strategy and we're responsible for bringing that to life and the strategic priorities that might differ across brands on an individual brand by brand basis. When there is the ability to take advantage of, I'll call it scale, meaning that it's a need or a desire or something that benefits all of those local brands, great. That's also something that we focus on as a team, but it's really making sure that we know the moments that matter the most. We know the customer and how their behavior might differ, whether it's from a geographic perspective, it could be from a demographic perspective. And it's also competitively driven. So if you think about the competitors that our brands are going up against, can differ across our geographic footprint. And so, no matter what it is, our support is making sure that we are doing it with a brand strategy in mind, making sure that it's for the right audience at the right time.
Well said. And tell us about creative. Where does that fit into the playbook?
Yeah. So, a great example from a creative perspective is just making sure that people have a unified experience. And we talked about that a little bit before in terms of that their in-store experience and channels that might be used to communicate to them in store or through email or the app match that from a digital or online perspective. So site merchandising and retail media really work hand in hand with one another and the Ahold Delhaize local brands to making sure that we're doing that. That we're fine tuning, whether it is the product tiles and titles on our website to the imagery, to aligning messaging, to making sure that it's that holistic, connected experience. So there's not one, I would say, example that I can give you of like a best in class, creative example. But it is making sure that everything that we are doing and supporting feels like it's coming from our brands, whether that is in store, or out of store or digital, online or in our app. So,
Great ways to think about it. One last question before we get to our rapid rundown here.
okay.
A lot of CPGs are thinking about new product introductions, bringing new items to market? How do you partner with the brands when they're doing those new innovations, those new launches?
Yeah, I think that they're also so focused on new because again, they're going after the incremental. And so a lot of CPG brands are focused on new items, new line extensions or launches. Really, it's kind of innovation of any kind. And it goes back to that, well, how does this come to life? And we at ADRM Retail Media, we have omnichannel premiere events. And so these are really great ways for CPGs to partner with us in amplifying when they are bringing in new items or a new line extension and making sure that they're going to be top of mind to customers. So if a CPG brand is trying to reach omnichannel shoppers, where they are, wherever they are, sometimes it's increasingly hard to do. Again, we talked about like the paradox of choice and just the people being overwhelmed with the number of ways that choices that they have and the ways that they're being communicated with. But we have great programs that are set up to really be able to target customers in a way that goes across omnichannel and helps boost visibility, drive incrementality, and really helps them win in the markets. This omnichannel premiere is a perfect way for CPG partners to really engage with us when it comes to they need to drive incremental growth, and we've got the tools in order to help them do that.
Great lineup, great set of tools, and always ask why. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be we may have found the title of the podcast right there. I've got a few quick questions for you to wrap up with as part of our rapid rundown. First off,
Okay.
your favorite digital promotion mechanic you've seen lately?
I have to admit, I am a sucker for buying items that come up on social channels. So whether it is a nail kit that I found that I could do my daughter's nails at home and not have to pay like $60 to take them to the
Right.
nail salon, which I probably shouldn't be doing anyway. But that kept popping up, and I finally like hit add to cart. My husband and I and our family loves to travel, and so there was a travel map that kept popping up with the pins that you push into it to track where you've gone.
That's a great
Um,
one.
and somehow it knew that it was Father's Day and that we love to travel.
Yeah.
And or I just got some fold up bags for my mom and my mother-in-law because they are always kind of traveling with us or helping shuffle the kids around and need more space. And so but again, like all of those were just, it kept coming up and it kept coming up. And finally, like I ended up biting. And so give me a great offer
Yeah.
and harass me continually with something
That's great.
that is relevant, and I'll
It's going to
take the bait.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So
That's a good one. Okay. One digital shelf feature that's underrated but makes a big impact.
I think to me, it's really about the quality of the content in terms of making sure that it's engaging, that it's appealing to a personal need as well as offering a solution to a problem that a customer might experience. So really thinking through how that content comes to life is important.
That's a great one. Go to grocery store snack or impulse buy.
Anything with chocolate. So I love chocolate covered pretzels, chocolate chip cookies. So if I happen to be at the grocery store and there is a bin of chocolate chip cookies that exist on my way out at checkout, you can be sure that there's probably at least one in my cart, if not more, if my kids are along, because they're also suckers for adding things to our cart when it comes to chocolate.
So we got to watch out for social with chocolate. We'll really be in trouble.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. Favorite weekend activity that has nothing to do with retail.
I would say over the summer, over the last few months, it's really been spending time at the pool with my girls and our family and friends. And so my youngest daughter wanted to learn to officially swim without having to use a floaty.
Right.
And so we spent a lot of time at the pool and just relaxing. So we try to take it easy on the weekends and not be too overly scheduled.
That's the way to do it. After a busy day managing digital merchandising and operations, what's your go-to? How do you unwind?
Really it's just with family. So whether it's taking a walk at night or bike rides, or my girls love dance. So they might have some random dance parties on a nightly basis, or
Yeah.
coloring or playing with molding play. Like it's the simple stuff. But it's really just spending time with them, doing something that matters, to complete their day. And it also kind of completes mine. So
So well said. The simple things, again, easy to forget, but those are the moments with the
yeah.
family. So those are great. Joanna, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me on Beyond the Shelf. What's the best way for our listeners to reach you?
They can reach out to me personally on LinkedIn. And beyond that, to find out more about AD Retail Media, and our full, funnel omnichannel capabilities, I would just say I would recommend that they reach out to a member of our sales team, and they can do that at ad.retail.media.sales at Ahold Delhaize USA.com.
Perfect. Well, we will include a link to that in the show notes so that people have it. And thanks again. I think I
Thank
learned,
you.
yeah, it's been great. I learned a lot. I learned it's never enough to just ask why. You've got to ask why. You've got to create the environment for people to feel comfortable asking about it, and then really connect in with the teams and with the customers. So, you shared some really wonderful insights with me and our listeners. So thanks again.
Great.
I hope you'll
Thank
come
you.
back.
Thank you. Definitely. And I can't wait to hear Paco Underhill's podcast too. So I'll definitely be tuning into that.
That's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Shelf. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really helps us grow. And feel free to share us with your colleagues so they too can hear weekly perspectives from the brightest minds in e-commerce. You can also check us out on LinkedIn, where we post clips from each episode, share Dave's takes on breaking industry news, and much more. Beyond the Shelf is a production of It's Rapid. Our host is Dave Feinlieb, and our producers are Sean Levy-Ashvili and Jake Musiker. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.